Hey everybody, Ofer Evnery from RealWave here, and we've got Boaz Evnery, who's also my brother from RealWave, helping us do moderation. And let's go ahead and start. So today I wanted to talk to you about one of the big issues that we're experiencing today, and this is email deliverability. And I'm not talking only about mass cold emails, send a million emails to everybody and their sister, email deliverability. I'm also talking about setting up a new legit operation for a new client. They have their business, they want to send emails to their existing clients. Everything is legit, but still emails don't get delivered. And today we're going to show why they don't get delivered, why it makes sense, why it doesn't make sense, and how to fix that. So it's going to be really, really interesting because we're going to cover step by step how the process works, what gets checked, and how to overcome it. And also in the end, I'm going to show you our solution. This is also, it's going to be an offer and everything. But I promise you that if you see the live cast today, and you'll get 90% of the knowledge that you need to warm up your domains and make your email deliverability and go high level substantially better than what it is now. So bear with me. There are going to be some really, really cool things that I'm going to show you and things that we do. So there are going to be several surprises throughout the way. So hang in there. It's going to be a real fun journey. So before we dive into the details, let's take a look at why this problem exists and talk a little bit about the email world. So if you look at the active users worldwide today that are using emails, we have 3.2 billion users. This number does not include local regional providers like in China or in India. This is things like Google, Microsoft, the big ones. Within those domains of emails, 350 billion emails get sent every day. And out of those, about 160 billion are marked as spam. So when you send your email from your new domain, your new account to a new place, and you're basically competing with $350 billion that half of them get spammed. So you're a little fish in a big ocean in a big competition, and you need to think, you know what you're doing in order to land in this inbox. Now, this market, this 3.2 billion active users, they're divided between the big email providers mostly. I'll give you a second to guess who's who. But as you could probably guess, the biggest one is Google with 47% or 1.6 billion email accounts. Second one is Microsoft. Third is Apple with iCloud. Although these email boxes, since they get created for free for every Apple users, nobody's really sure how much they're used. 7% goes to Yahoo, and the rest of the 7% goes to all of the others, ancient things like AOL and Comcast. A lot of people still use them, and it's about 200 million mailboxes that go to these providers. So all of these providers are actually competing with how well they filter spam for their users, right? If you put your agency hat aside for a second and think about, yourself and your spouse and your kids getting spam emails from every day, you want it as low as possible. So these companies, they fight the spam. They try to find any reason not to get you into the inbox. They prefer to put you in spam and have the user look for it and put it in the inbox than create the impression that they're a spammy company. So it makes getting into the inbox even more challenging. So let's talk a little bit about the email system, the general worldwide email system. And let's take a look at an email address, sales@realwave.com. So we have two parts to the address here. We've got the right side, the left side, which is the user or the mailbox. And on the right side, we have the domain. Some people get confused with things like domain like, let's say, lc.realwave.com. Oops. Like, is it a subdomain? Is it a domain? So that's a domain. Everything that you have on the right side of the @ sign is the domain name that the email uses. Yes, that's technically true. lc.realwave.com is a subdomain of realwave.com ownership-wise in the DNS system. But as far as the email system is concerned, it's a completely separate domain than realwave.com. So when we're talking about domain or subdomain, it has nothing to do with the email system and how it interprets the emails. Yes, again, it has to do with the DNS and the ownership, but not for our purpose. That's another example for an email address with the mailbox and the domain name. And also, that's another example for an email address. And all of them behave exactly the same when we have the user on the left and the domain on the right. Now, let's take a look at an example where I want to send an email from my sales@realwave.com to Gal Gadot and offer her one of my products or services. So in order for this to happen, the entire worldwide email system needs to work and get this message and deliver it through all of the different stages and have it jump through all the hoops in order to get to this email. So let's talk about these hoops that we need to jump through. So this shows us the letter to the inbox. And this is going to be a main slide in all of the presentation. We're going to get back to that all the time. And whatever you do, whatever email solution you end up using, and what we do is one of many out there in the market. There's several approaches. This will be, to my opinion, consistent. And as long as you climb those steps properly, you'll get to the inbox. So let's start and talk about those steps. When you send the email to another email address, we discussed how the receiving server wants to make sure that it's not spam, and it will do quite a lot of stuff to make sure it's not. So this is like the steps that we're checking, and you need to cross the first step in order to get to the second step. So the first thing the server checks, the receiving server checks, is that your domain, your sending domain, is authenticated. What does authenticated means? It means it is who it claims to be. Like, when you go to a government office and they ask you for your identification, that's authentication. They want to make sure that you are who you say you are. So this is also true here. And the entire system of SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, it's only designed to take care of this stage. It's basically a system, a set of systems that work together that help the mail receiving server to authenticate the sending server. And we won't get into the tiny nitty details, but just so you know, each one of these have a different purpose. The first one, DKIM, is a protocol that allows, it's like a certificate. It encrypts the very special text and allows, it's like a key for the receiving server to know that the sending server is who it claims it is. After it does that, there is another protocol called SPF. SPF makes sure that the sending server is within the range of IP addresses or locations that your server is allowed to be in. So that's another check. And then DMARC, basically, it's just a reporting protocol that wraps SPF, DKIM, and creates a report and allows you to analyze it or send it to you as the domain administrator. So when you set up your new domain or use an existing domain, all of these settings inside the domain needs to be defined. Otherwise, your domain will fail the first step. It will just not get there, because SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, these are the industry standard. There are some different variances in how you can configure it. And, there are people who are really special and, fine-tuning it. I'll show you today 95% and where you can find the other 5% if, you want to really fine-tune it. Basically, that's the first step, making sure that the domain you send from is authenticated. And so this is really easy. You'll have a checklist of what you need to configure. Next. You copy and paste, done. That's really easy. Do it once, and it's there forever. Second step. So receiving server gets the email, it authenticated the domain. Okay, you are who you say you are. We trust that, you are this guy. But now I'm not letting any domain into my, party. Who are you? Do I know you? Are you reputable? And reputable, it's kind of a vague concept. What does reputable mean? Well, I want to remind you that you live with another vague concept, which is, your credit worthiness. Yeah, there are formulas, but it's kind of, not everybody understands how it works, but it works in a way that when you start off as a new college student, you have very basic credit. You don't have credit history, so you're less reputable, you're less trusted. And as you go in life and you get more credit cards, you get a mortgage, you get more and more reputable because you have a record of performing on your obligations and not stealing, paying in time. It's the same with domains. The receiving server wants to make sure that your domain is reputable, that it doesn't do any harm, it doesn't send spam, it's not in any blacklist. And that's an issue when you start with a new domain. So you just sign up your domain, it's a new one, you will fail on reputable domain. So this is why, this is one of the reasons that you just, set up your new custom domain and you think it's going to solve everything, but you still get to spam because you're failing on the second one. How to solve it? We'll see in a second. Very much like the credit world, you build credit and you build reputation. So I'll show you what needs to be done to build your reputation. It's not very difficult, but it just needs to be done. And if you don't do it, you'll just fail on the second step time after time. The third step is reputable sender. So we have the domain, our RealWave domain, and it needs to be trusted. But is the mailbox address trusted? Like sales at RealWave? Some domains could be really, domain gmail.com. The fact that gmail.com is reputable doesn't mean that every sender in Gmail is reputable, right? So the domain has to be reputable and the user has to be reputable, the email address that's actually sending the email. So again, you're facing the same issue. You have a new domain, so of course the sender is new. So even if you succeeded in the second step, you'd still fail in the third step. And with this very similar process to get it reputable, to just create the credit over time. And again, we'll see what steps needs to be done to create this reputation. Fast forward in time, you've got your domain authenticated, it's reputable, you've been warming it up, that's how it's called, for a couple of months, reputable server, and then you start sending messages out. Even after everything was approved by the receiving server, your message is still getting looked at. So if the message is going to be spammy, the definition of spammy still needs to be defined, but I think you get what I mean. Excessive links, clickbait, specific keywords, it will still get flagged as spam and not get to the inbox, even if after all the reputation is set up. So assuming that you are sending a relevant message, something that looks like a legitimate email message that a non-spammer would send another email address, then you get to the inbox. So the question is, how do we implement that? And before I move on and start showing you how we do it in Go High Level, I got some comments to the posts and a lot of people ask me, hey, why not use a solution like this or that or Instantly or one of the email warmers out there? There's nothing wrong with them. They work great. And as long as they implement the 5 steps, then or 4 steps, because the message is up to you eventually, then they would work. The reason why we wanted to implement this inside Go High Level and not using one of the third-party tools was that our clients like to have the same emails, both in the cold outreach or the database reactivation, and also then in the follow-up. And having 2 separate email systems is just not convenient, especially when you have tons of clients and tons of sub-accounts and you don't want to create an Instantly account for each one of them. And also, these are different domains that are running inside Go High Level and Instantly. And another thing, it's also, it's not the cheapest solution. And since the problem is getting worse, literally now for every sub-account we create, even the smallest sub-account for just a demo we're running, we still want the emails to get delivered. So you can't just open up infinite amount of these accounts. So we wanted something that works inside Go High Level, integrated, maybe not as fancy or as 100% foolproof like other solutions, but something that would work good enough for most of our clients. And this also means we weren't looking at the scenario of, hey, I want to send 200,000 cold emails a day. I need several millions a month. We're not solving that. I think the solution is limited to per sub account, let's say 200-300 emails a day. So if you need more than that, probably that's not the solution for you. But I think for most beginning sub accounts, that should be more than enough. So let's dive in. So the work plan. So basically what we want to do is create the reputation. And this is the cheat sheet for creating the reputation. It's extremely simple. So first of all, we need to figure out how much emails we need to send a day. Go High Level supports 1 sender per domain in the way I'm going to show you. So if you create 1 domain, it's about 30 to 50 emails a day that can go through all of these fancy processes. And Go High Level supports up to 5 sending domains. Again, I'll show you how it works. So according to the numbers of emails you need to send out, you can calculate how many domains you want to use. Of course, you can send more emails a day. Nothing wrong with that. If your email messages are great and you're sending it to your existing database, fantastic. You can send probably as many as you want. These numbers are mostly for cold outreach. These are completely cold emails, never heard about them, they never heard about you, and the challenge is to get you into their inbox. It gets easier if you already communicated with the client, and if there's already a conversation going on, I'm not even looking at these, not counting them in those numbers. So first of all, get your numbers in place. Second thing is in configuring your domains in Go High Level, and we'll show it in a minute how it works. And this is to be able to support their authentication, so they pass the first step. Again, this is really easy. Just you need to know what you're doing. The first one will take you 10 minutes, the second one 5, and moving forward 2 minutes for a domain. We'll do a couple of more configurations in Go High Level. like configure the domain headers and the open click settings, which affect how the senders show to the email system. And then there's like a doctor's instructions for taking a pill. You need to build your reputation. So here is what we found works best for Gmail mostly, and Outlook. Yahoo is a little bit of a different beast, but these are about 80% of the email boxes. So we found that's a pretty good recipe. There are optimizations per provider. We won't cover them here. This is like a one-size-fits-all solution, but mostly Gmail. So we start by sending 10 good emails. When I say good emails, I mean emails that just look like legit emails. Hey, how are you doing? I wanted to tell you about the meeting we had last week, and it was amazing. Can you send me this and that? And so send 10 of these a day for random mailboxes for 2 weeks. And then when you send them in the beginning, let's go back here. You will authenticate it, but your domain will not be, right? You will not pass step 2. So what will happen is those emails will go to spam directly. You need to go ahead and unspam them. What does unspam mean? You need to move them from the unspam to the inbox. This will mark the email server that, hey, I made a mistake. Yeah, the domain was, I categorized it as spam just because I don't know these guys, but if they unspammed, then they may call their clients and told them, hey, did you get our email? And said, no, we didn't get it. Can you check your spam folder for me? Oh, yeah, I checked it. Oh, that looks great. And they move it to the inbox and then reply. So that's the human process that happens when you start a real business with a new domain. So we want to imitate it and have those emails moved from the spam to the inbox. And then we want the recipient to respond back to us. Say, hey, got your email, that sounds great, or whatever, as long as it's a legitimate contextual text. So start with 10 a day, then 20 a day for the 3rd and 4th weeks, and 30 a day for the 5th and 6th weeks. Usually after 6 weeks doing that, suddenly your emails start landing in spam. Not 100%, 80, 90%, because reputation is still building, it's still sensitive, and they change the algorithm from time to time. But most of the emails will go to the inbox. And then the last step, continue forever. It's a conditional. If you're cold emailing, then you need to continue this process forever, because if you just stop this process and start sending your cold emails, you'll get flagged as spam once a day, twice a day, whatever, 3 times a week. And this will mark the email servers, hey, we gave them trust, but it was premature, they're spamming, and everything will go away. After all the nice warm-up work you've done, it will just get rid immediately. Again, think about the credit system. You can build your credit for 20 years, and then you don't make a payment twice, and your email crash and your credit crashes. It's the same thing here. So if you are sending cold emails, you need to keep doing this process and make it like that. Most or a lot of the emails going out would be legit, and then your spam emails are just a portion. Not spam, marketing email. Sorry, but we're in the same business, so I allow myself. So there will be a smaller portion, and even if one gets flagged as spam, there's still a whole lot of emails going every day, getting unspammed if needed, and getting replied. So whatever you do, whatever technology you pick, if you do that, you have very good chances of landing in the inbox. And now I'll show you how we do that in Go High Level. Right. Browser time. Bigger. Okay, so I created a brand new sub account here, RealWave Warmer. Nothing in here, didn't do anything, didn't create any contact. I didn't edit any email settings. Email services, go to settings, email services. So, didn't define anything here. Come on, go high level. Everybody's in the summit now. All right. So that's the default screen when you get there. By the way, take a look at what they tell you. It looks like a simple, push an offer. Boost your email deliverability. What does that mean in US marketing English? Reduce spam flagging. Shared domains can sometimes lead to higher spam flagging. If by higher they mean 100%, then yeah, that's spot on. So they actually tell you right to your face, guys, your emails are not going to work as is. So by minimum, create a dedicated domain. And why won't they work unless you create a dedicated domain? Let's see what happens when I don't do anything. I just use the default email system. And I'm going to go back here and I'm going to create a contact. Oops, Hebrew, please. So this is a Gmail account I opened for that. Click save. And now I want to send myself an email. Hello, world. Hi, how are you? And I'm going to send this email. So what happens? We didn't get any domain. We didn't get anything. How was this? How did this happen? And as you can see, when I go to my mailbox, there's nothing here. It's all in, actually it got to my inbox because I just tried it once before I connected you, but it went right to spam. But you do see that this message might be suspicious or spam. And how does it know that? Why does it, look at it as spam? And the reason, and this is a way for you to know what's going on behind the scenes, go to show original, and you can see from, it's actually sent from my email, right? But we know it's not my email. It was sent from Go High Level. So what's going on here? But if you see the reply to, which is the real email where we actually send a reply, it's something like offer@mgmsgndr.biz. That's the lead connector domain. So basically my email, if we remember what we just learned, the right side is the domain. So domain is mg.msg.biz. So it was authenticated, it's a legit domain, but is it reputable? Is the default sending domain for Go High Level from which every person who doesn't know how to do email sends spam to their clients? Is it a reputable domain? No. So this is why when you just start with Go High Level and just use one of the emails, you will always fail and get to the spam. So there's no way around that. And this is why they recommend going with your own domain. So you start from scratch and you can create your own domain reputation. So how do we do that? We go here, we go to email services. I'll give it, I try and do it in real time, and I'll give it like 3 or 4 minutes, but sometimes it takes the DNS time to update. So if we fail, we'll just try to get back to it later. So I'm going to click the dedicated domain because I want to use my own domain. And here I click the add domain. And this is where I enter my domain name. So I happen to have a domain name that I just purchased. It's called Keto Bar Seattle. and it's a business that sells keto pastries and sends them online, and they want to have their email set up. So when I set up the domain, you remember we discussed whether to use the main domain or a subdomain. So these are all domain, it doesn't matter. But we recommend not to use your main domain, because if something happens, you spammed by accident and your domain gets to the blacklist, you don't want your main domain to get to the blacklist. So we'll just come up with something like LC or mail, or I recommend not using things like mail in the domain name. So something more cryptic is better. So that's the domain we chose. We click add and verify. And now, in order to add a domain, we need to define some fields in our domain register. And it will try to find it. It will not find it because I use a very old register and I just have to do it manually. So this is my domain here, Keto Bar Seattle. This is my DNS settings. And basically what Go High Level is asking me for is to add those 5 rows to my DNS settings. This is how it's going to be able to authenticate it. And these rows, this includes the information for the authentication we just talked about. It includes SPF, DKIM, not DMARC just yet, but it will show it in the next step. So all of these, Go High Level actually tells me what I have to do. I don't have to think about it. With DMARC, there's some nuances, but the default is pretty good. So let's see how it works. So I have 2 text records here. I can just try and arrange the screen in an easier way. So let's create text record. The first one, pick domain, and that's the value, and click add. Second one, another text record. Did it work? Feels like it's carving it in stone. Anyway, these settings will be generated automatically for you by Go High Level, and they're different from domain to domain. So you don't, copy and paste them somewhere and use them. These will be new for every domain that you add. Let's try to refresh this page. Oh yeah, I was signed out. All right, so let's do that again. I told you there's always something with the domain that takes a few more minutes, but a little persistent and it works. Okay, so that was the first one. This was the second one. So I'm just copying and pasting like a monkey. CNAME. And then 2 MX records. So MX. And right here. And that's a 10, I think. It's a 10. They don't say it, but it needs to be a 10. And one more MX record. Add. Now I'll click the verify records, which will not work because we just added it. And also it will tell you here about the DMARC. I told you it will be in the second stage. So the DMARC shows here as an optional field. I don't know why they would do it, edit as optional, because it's really important. But now we can take it from here and add the final step, DMARC. And that's not a good DMARC string. I told you that it will do 95% for you, and the other 5% I'll show you how to do. So we'll add some additional stuff here later, but for now, we're just going to add this record. So, so Go High Level can verify the domain. So theoretically, we need to wait a couple of minutes, technically, theoretically, same in this case, and click verify, and then it will check that we updated all of those settings. Click verify domain. says, hey, not verified, try again. So it will take a few minutes. You see it already verified 2 details and the rest are not there yet. So we'll come back in a few minutes and see how we complete it. For now, it's still pending and we have until November 6th to complete but we'll just try again in a few minutes. So if we get back to our action list, the next would be, we configured SPK, DKAM, and DMARC. Again, I owe you, I'll probably add it in the comments, the link to how to make your DMARC more secure. The lines we added are okay, but they're not as strict as you want them to be. So it will just change the wording a little bit. The next thing we need to do is to configure the domain headers. The domain headers actually lock the domain to one specific sender. Otherwise, when different people use the domain, the Go High Level will try to use their mailbox name, but it will be made up mailbox name. And then if you do it like that, you're going to fail the reputable sender because they will be all over the place. What you want to do if you're sending emails is you wanted to have one specific sender to gain reputation, and you do it here in the domain headers, right here in the domain. And here you say like this is railway sales, and our email address is let's say info@lc.pito or seattle.com. So when I did that, each and every one of the emails that are going to be sent from this domain are going to be from this email. It doesn't matter who you are, who you send it from, workflow, not workflow, user, not user. This is how it's going to show. And that's what you want in order to lock it and create a reputation. So we did that. Then configuring open and click settings. I don't think we can do it yet because it's not approved, but we'll go in a second when it's let's try again now. Ooh, that actually worked. Okay, so I verified and now my domain is approved. And now when I go to domain settings, I have 2 settings here. One is enable tracking and one is open tracking. Click tracking rewrites your links. So when people click them, you'll be able to track it. And open tracking adds a pixel. So when people open the email, you can track it. The more you add, the more spammy it is considered. I like to add at least open tracking in the beginning just to track our systems and see if the emails get there and get opened. Some people claim that this is this is not needed, and if people reply to you, that's the best parameter. But I'm a data geek and I like collecting information. I found that with the open tracking set on, we can track the system, see that it works, and still it doesn't substantially hurt the messages, and they do get through. So I open to have it open tracking and not click tracking. When you launch and actually start sending emails, you can turn it on, see what it does. And if it's important to you, you can use it. So these were the open and click settings. That's all. Now, all we have to do is wait very actively for 6 weeks. And during this time, we want to send those emails to 10, 20, 30 people and have them spam and reply. So this is where I think most even very responsible agency owners fail sometime because they start sending a couple of emails to themselves and maybe the client for a week or 2, and it just doesn't do the work. And running this manually is really challenging, especially if you need to do it for 5 domains over 20 sub-accounts. Like, how are you going to manage that from Go High Level? And this is where RealWave came in, and we said, hey, you know what? We can come up with 30 good emails. We can set up a little farm of Gmail boxes and, create good emails. And we can also maybe create some workflows to run the emails to those addresses. So we created, we did just that. And we created a farm of email addresses from different providers. Instantly does the same thing, by the way. They probably have like 1,000 mailbox more than we do, but since their use case is sending millions of emails, then it's needed. But so we have this database of mailboxes, and then all I need to do is go here to my contacts and import my contacts. I created a mini file just with 3 contacts from this list, just so I can show you how it works. Providers, I don't need that. I don't need that. Type first name, last name, account. That's just the email. Next. I just load those contacts and add them tagged so I know that these are not real addresses, or they were used for the warmer. I hope it does it quickly. Thank you. So it created those 3 mailboxes here, and naturally in the real production environment you get some more of them. And then what we do is we have a set of automations called the RealWave email warmer, in which as soon as you tag them with the Warmup tag, they would go into this workflow. And in the workflow, it checks that you added the Warmup tag. I didn't do that yet. So as soon as you tag it, it makes sure that the email warmer is on. It's a custom value that we have that makes sure that the system is on. And then if it's on and it's the first send, we just added them to the system, then we set them up as new warm-up contact. We update the warm-up start date to know that we just started to warm up this domain with this contact. And then we'll talk about the randomizer in a second. We just go into this stage here, and we add the send tag. So you can go ahead and send them an email. All those waits are just if we're coming in and sending them another time, the email, like for the second time, there is a random wait step. It's just a randomizer, that chooses a number between 110 and according to where you landed. So it just sends them to the different wait times, and these are just random minutes. So they just send the messages on random times, and after it waits, it adds the warm-up, the send tag, and then it goes to the second workflow, which actually send them the email. So as soon as we added the send tag, which means it's either a new contact or it waited and wanted to send again, we make sure the warmer is on. And then this is one of the surprises I promised you to share. One of the very important things in getting to an inbox is getting the right message and sending a message that would not look like the same message or a template message or a spam message. Well, let me just unite the browser back here again. So instead of just coming up with a simple message or using spin text, which is not good enough, or using ChatGPT, which is very expensive and doesn't produce really random results, we created a database of emails, not email addresses, but actual emails that are used as seed for the system to send. So when it just picks one of thousands of emails, and it will be like, hey, I just added some native plants to my garden in Toledo. They attract amazing whatever. Or You know, the Santa Monica store was chaotic. Let's have a Taylor Swift marathon to unwind. So the warmer gets a random email, saves it, emails the warmer contact with this email, and then it runs some counters to figure out, so we can use a dashboard and see how much emails were sent, how much were replied. We also supported automatic auto reply by closebot when the message bounces back. We'll show it in a minute. And then we remove the tag and send it back to the wait. So we're basically sending to each one of those contacts a random good message. And on the other side, we're still missing something. So if you look at the presentation again, even if we send the emails automatically and they're good and they're sent automatically, still someone needs to unspam and reply, right? So that's the second surprise we have, because we designed a backend system that listens to all of these emails all the time. And as soon as they get an email, we have a ChatGPT agent that just replies and unspams and moves it to the inbox. So when we go ahead now and select these contacts and add the tag Warmup, each and every one of them should go into the workflows, and they're now in the send stage. And we can see the emails went out. So Lorraine, which is one of our pay contacts, just got an email from us. Hey, can you send me the details for the next tech meetup in Dumbo? Now, you can see that the email was sent out from info@lc.ketobarseattle.com, which is the email address we defined in the headers. So it doesn't come from me or anything else. That's the domain we came up with. Now, a few minutes from now, if everything works properly, I should be getting a response back from Lorraine O'Hara, which is, of course, big email, while our backend logs into Gmail, unspams, move to the inbox, and authors the replies and send it back. It happens every few minutes, so there is a small delay. Now, I want to show you, while we're waiting for a reply here, how this looks in an account that actually has it installed and working. So that's, let's say, RealWave Vision API. Every one of our products, every one of our sub-accounts get this warmer to work. And we have a dashboard that shows us for each contact, how much was it warmed, how many days, how did it work? And this always works in the backend. And one more thing I wanted to show you is, I showed you how to configure one domain, but how does it work when you have 5 domains? So it works the same. This is an account where we set up 5 domains. So when we go to email services and we go to our dedicated domain, you can see that I have like 7 domains here, right? I can define as many domains as I want. However, when I go to the domain configuration, I can select which domains get used when I'm sending emails out. And these domains are up to 5 for workflow domains, or per each one of the scenarios. So since we're using workflows, we can define up to 5 domains that will be randomly selected in a round robin sequence. So when we set up the warmer and the emails get sent out, they get sent randomly from these domains. So we're warming all of them at once at the same time. We just need to send more emails out because we have more domains. So in this scenario, instead of sending 10 good emails a day, we would send 50 because they would be spread around the different domains. And here we said, 150 a day. So as soon as we have that, our emails will be sent from each one of these separately. Let's go back here and see. Hopefully we got the message back from the AI. Contacts, conversations. Yeah, there we go. So, hi, for sure, I'd be happy to send you the details of the next meetup in Dumbo. I'll gather all information and forward it to you shortly. Or this I got, there's a fascinating lecture on Arizona history. Thank you for the invitation. Would like to attend. So these things just runs automatically for you guys. It sends the emails, it unspams them in the backend, put them in inbox and replies to you, and you can control how many gets sent a day. So this is in a very essence what a warmer is and our way to implement it. You don't have to use it. You can manually unspam and move to the inbox if you want to do it. It will work all the same. You can get other solutions. It will work all the same as long as you keep the same steps and make sure that you continue forever. So I'll spend 1 minute in sharing you what RealWave Warmer is, and then we'll leave a few minutes for questions. So RealWave Warmer is basically the workflows that I just showed you. Listener mailboxes provided to you as a list that you can load to your sub accounts, access through the Google Sheets API to thousands of unique emails that we maintain all the time and keep them fresh so they don't get repeated. You get the Gmail unspammer. This is our backend side. It goes into Gmail, unspams, moves it to inbox and replies. We're planning to add Microsoft and Yahoo in version 2 of this. And the cost for the package is $19 for 1 domain from your sub account, or $69 for 6 domains. And we say 5 + 1 because you can use 5 at a time, and you can keep a backup one warmed up. So if something happens to one of the domains, you can always switch it automatically. So that's what we are offering. And it goes right into Go High Level, and you can have full control. You can add your own contacts, and you can configure it in the way that works for you. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to share for today. Any questions, comments?